Somewhere in Louisiana right now, a fridge full of food is riding out day 3 of a power outage on a battery station about the size of a cooler. 3 streets over, a family just signed a contract for $15,000 with an installer for a system that keeps that exact same fridge running through the exact same storm, same outage, same neighborhood. One of them got played. I spent 35 years wiring backup power into houses, installing generators, batteries, and solar, and getting the 2 a.m. calls when the cheap system failed, right when someone needed it most. I've seen the family that read every spec sheet before they bought, and I've seen the family that trusted a slick sales pitch and a countdown timer that said the deal expires tonight. Today, I'm giving you the 15 tricks that separate the people who save thousands of dollars on a power station from the people who just handed a company their savings account. A few of these tricks cost you nothing but timing. A couple of them will make the unit you already own last twice as long. And one of them, the one I'm saving for right in the middle of this list, is worth more real money than everything else here combined. Let's get into it. So, how does one homeowner end up with a power station still running strong 5 years later, while the next guy's identical-looking unit is dead in 18 months and out of warranty? It's almost never the battery itself. It's what the buyer did or didn't do before he ever plugged it in. I've watched customers overpay by hundreds of dollars for the exact same watt hours, and I've watched other customers turn a $400 unit into something that outlasts units 3 times the price. None of what I'm about to walk you through requires an electrical license or a special tool. It requires knowing which questions to ask before you hand over your card and which habits to keep once the box is sitting in your garage. Here's every trick in order, starting with the easiest one to fix today. Number 1. Stop paying for the wireless charging pad, the fancy touchscreen, and the extra outlets you'll never load at the same time. Look at the spec sheet on something like the Bluetti AC180 sitting on a garage shelf or the EcoFlow Delta 2, and you'll see a wireless charging pad built right into the top panel. That sounds nice until you realize it trickles power at maybe 15 watts. A $13 charging pad from any hardware store does the same job for a fraction of the cost. Same story with a big color touchscreen some brands charge a premium for. It looks great in the commercial. It does absolutely nothing for your fridge staying cold at 2 in the morning. And outlet count is the same trick dressed up differently. A 1 kilowatt-hour unit with 6 AC outlets across the front still has one output ceiling, usually somewhere around 1,500 to 1,800 continuous watts. You cannot run 6 things at full draw at the same time, no matter how many holes are on the panel. You're paying for outlets you will never simultaneously load. The specs that actually protect you when the power goes out are usable watt-hours per dollar, continuous output in watts, the battery chemistry, and the length of the warranty. Everything else is a showroom feature, and showroom features are exactly what installers and marketing teams use to justify the markup. Number 2. Buy in the 1 to 2 kilowatt-hour capacity range unless you specifically need whole panel backup, because that's where the price per kilowatt-hour actually makes sense. Power stations get more expensive per kilowatt-hour the smaller they are, since you're still paying full price for the inverter, the screen, and the casing, no matter how few cells are inside. And the biggest units climb fast once you start stacking expansion batteries onto them. Right now, you can find something like the Anker Solix C1000, just over 1,000 watt-hours, selling for well under $500 on a good week. That's enough to keep a full-size fridge running for close to a day, keep your Wi-Fi and your phones charged through the outage, and run a CPAP machine all night without a hiccup. The EcoFlow Delta 3 Plus and the Jackery Explorer 1000 sit in almost the exact same range, so shop across brands inside that sweet spot instead of falling in love with one logo. Go smaller than 800 watt-hours, and you're paying the worst price per watt-hour in the entire category for a battery that might not carry you through one full night. Go bigger than 4,000 watt-hours because a bigger number felt safer sitting on the shelf, and you're paying for capacity most real outages never actually use. I've had customers proudly show me a unit the size of a mini fridge that they bought for a house that just needed to keep the lights and the router alive. It wasn't wrong exactly. It was just an expensive way to be right. Match the size to your real critical loads, not to whichever number sounds most impressive printed on the box. Number 3, and this is the one every electrician and generator technician in my comment section will back me up on. Confirm the battery inside is lithium iron phosphate, sometimes shortened to LFP, and not the older nickel manganese cobalt chemistry. Some clearance units and used listings are still running. Lithium iron phosphate is rated for 3,000 to 5,000 charge cycles before it drops to 80% of its original capacity. The older chemistry, the stuff still sitting in some bargain bins, tops out at 500 to 1,000 cycles. Run the math on that for a second. A lithium iron phosphate unit can outlast the older chemistry by 3 to 5 times over, often for only a couple of $100 more up front. That's not a gimmick upgrade you're paying extra for. That's the difference between a power station still working when you need it in 10 years, and one that's a paperweight by year 2. Nearly every current flagship, from EcoFlow, Bluetti, Anker, and Jackery ships with lithium iron phosphate now, which is good news. The Trap is an older discontinued model on a clearance shelf or a second-hand listing where nobody bothers to mention the chemistry because the seller knows it would kill the sale. While you're checking chemistry, glance at the certification line too. A unit that lists UL 9540, UL 1973, or UL 2743 has actually been through independent safety testing, not just the manufacturer's own lab. That's a 5-second check on the spec page that tells you more about the build than any 5-star review ever will. Number 4. Check the actual warranty length before you check the price tag, and then register the unit the day it shows up on your porch. Anker Solix backs its whole current lineup with a flat 5-year warranty. Bluetti runs anywhere from 4 to 6 years, depending on the specific model, so read the fine print instead of assuming every unit in their catalog matches. Their Elite 205-2 carries a full 5-year term, while some of their older AC series units are still sitting at 4. 2 products from the same brand, 2 very different levels of protection. And here's the part almost nobody actually does. EcoFlow and Jackery both structure their coverage as 3 years standard, with 2 more years automatically added the moment you register the unit in their app. Skip that 10-minute step and you just handed back 40% of your coverage for nothing. I've had customers find that out the hard way, staring at a dead unit in year 4 with a receipt that only protects them through year 3. Number 5. If you know you'll need more capacity down the road, buy the matching expansion battery instead of a whole second power station. An expansion battery has no inverter, no screen, no outlets. It's just more cells in a box, wired directly into the unit you already own. EcoFlow says outright that their extra battery packs cost up to 30% less than buying another full power station at the same capacity. On the Delta Pro 3, the matching Smart Extra battery adds over 4,000 watt-hours for around $1,900, and every watt-hour of that comes in cheaper than paying full price a second time for a complete unit with a duplicate inverter you don't need. The Delta 2 and Delta 3 only accept one expansion battery each, while the Delta Pro 3 accepts two, and the Anker Solix F3800 can take up to 5 separate expansion packs if you're building toward a genuine whole home setup over time instead of all at once. Just confirm how many expansion batteries your specific model actually supports before you buy, because that ceiling is different across every brand and every generation, and a salesperson won't always volunteer it. Number 6. You do not have to buy the manufacturer's own branded solar panels. Third-party panels with a standard MC4 connector and a cheap adapter cable will charge most of these units just as well, for a lot less money. Jackery is the one brand that runs its own proprietary connector instead of the industry standard, so budget an extra $12 to $15 for the right adapter cable if you're going that route. Here's where it can bite you though. Check the maximum solar input voltage listed for your specific unit before you buy any panel. Some EcoFlow River models cap out around 30 volts. The bigger flagship units can handle 60 volts or more per port. Wire in a panel that exceeds that limit, especially on a cold morning when a panel's actual voltage runs higher than the number printed on the box, and you can fry the charge controller. That repair is not covered under warranty, because at that point, it wasn't the manufacturer's fault. It was a mismatch you created. Both EcoFlow and Jackery confirm that third-party panels don't automatically void your coverage. Match the voltage, use a properly rated cable, and you'll save real money on the solar side without losing your protection. Number 7. Check the manufacturer's own refurbished store before you pay full price for new. EcoFlow runs an official certified refurbished program, and every restored unit ships with the same warranty as a brand new one straight off the line. That's the detail that actually matters here. I've seen a Delta Pro at 3,600 watt-hours listed refurbished for over $1,000 less than new, backed by a 2-year warranty through their partner insurer. The trap sits on general marketplaces, where third-party open box listings often carry only a 1-year seller warranty, not manufacturer coverage. A listing that just says certified open box with no mention of which company is honoring the claim is a seller's certification, not the manufacturer's. Read exactly who's standing behind the unit before you assume you're getting the same protection for a lower price. That's not even the part that gets the comment section angry, because here's the detail almost every buyer misses entirely. Number 8. And if you only take one trick away from this whole video, make it this one. Never pay the sticker price on a power station. Ever. These units go on sale so predictably that paying full price is basically a choice you're making, not a price you're stuck with. There are 4 windows worth watching every single year: Black Friday and Cyber Monday in November, where the discounts run deepest, Amazon Prime Day in July, plus the second Prime Day event in October. Earth Day sales in the spring, and end-of-generation clearance, the moment a brand quietly announces a new model and starts pushing the old one out the door. Here's what that actually looks like in real dollars, not vague marketing language. The EcoFlow Delta Pro 3 normally runs around $3,700. During Black Friday 2025, it sold for $2,100. That's a 43% discount, over $1,600 back in your pocket for the exact same battery, the exact same warranty, the exact same chemistry. The smaller Delta 2, usually priced around $700, dropped all the way to $349 that same weekend, 50% off. And it isn't just EcoFlow. That same shopping weekend, a Delta Pro bundle with a pair of solar panels that normally lists around $5,200 sold for $1,700. That's not a rounding error, and it's not a marketing gimmick. That's the difference between affording backup power for your whole critical circuit list and only being able to afford it for the fridge. If a salesperson or a listing tells you the price in front of you right now is the best it will ever be, wait 2 months and check again. It almost never is. I mean, sit with that for a second. $1,600 is more than plenty of folks' budget for a power station in the first place, sitting there for the taking just for waiting 2 months. Number 9. If you're not actively using the unit, store it at 50 to 60% charge, not full and not empty. Lithium iron phosphate batteries hate sitting at 100% for months at a stretch, and they hate sitting near zero even more. EcoFlow's own guidance is to store the unit around half charge in a cool, dry space and top it back up every few months if it's parked in a closet or a garage between storms. Do that, and you're looking at meaningfully more usable years out of the exact same battery. Ignore it. Leave it sitting at full charge in a hot garage all summer, and owners report losing 15 to 25% of their real capacity within a year or two. Heat above the mid-90s is the single biggest cycle life killer in this whole category. More than age, more than raw cycle count. One more habit while we're on this. If the battery percentage on the screen starts acting strange, jumping around or reading dead when it clearly isn't, run the unit all the way down and then charge it back up in one uninterrupted stretch. That recalibrates the battery management system so it's reading your real capacity again, instead of you assuming the unit is dying when it's actually just confused. If you're finding this useful, hit subscribe. I cover backup power, generators, and solar every single week. No affiliate hype, just the straight verdict. So, 9 tricks down, all of them about protecting money you've already spent or are about to spend. But the 10th trick I'm about to give you isn't about saving a few $100s. It's about a defect that already put a real number on a fire report. Number 10, update your firmware the moment your app tells you there's a new version, and don't put it off for a rainy weekend. I know that sounds small, but here's a real example that should get your attention. In October of 2025, the Consumer Product Safety Commission recalled about 25,000 EcoFlow Delta Max 2000 power stations after the company received 6 reports of those exact units catching fire, with property damage totaling more than $850,000 combined. The remedy wasn't a recall where you box the unit up and mail it back. The remedy was a firmware update pushed straight through the app. Owners who updated were done in about 10 minutes. Owners who kept dismissing that notification in their app kept sitting on the defect that caused the fires in the first place. That figure came straight from the federal agency's own recall notice, not a headline written to scare you. That's not a small feature patch you can skip. That's the difference between a working power station in your garage and a fire risk sitting a few feet from your car. Charge the unit above 80%, keep it plugged into wall power during the update, and update over Wi-Fi instead of Bluetooth, since a dropped connection halfway through is what actually bricks these units and turns a firmware fix into a warranty claim. Number 11. Use built-in UPS mode to protect the electronics that genuinely matter, and stop expecting a power station to behave like a whole home generator. In real independent lab testing, a Bluetti AC70 switched from wall power to battery power in about 14 milliseconds. An EcoFlow Delta 2 measured closer to 39 milliseconds in the same test, which one reviewer flagged as pushing the limit for a sensitive desktop computer, though still perfectly fine for the loads most homeowners actually care about. Either way, that's fast enough to keep your fridge, your router, your security cameras, your sump pump, and a CPAP machine running through the switch without a hiccup. If you genuinely need guaranteed millisecond protection for a home server or medical monitoring equipment, a dedicated small UPS unit built for that exact job still beats a power station on switchover speed, and it's worth pairing the two instead of asking one device to do everything. What it is not fast enough or large enough for, no matter what a sales page implies, is your central air conditioner, your electric water heater, or a well pump trying to start under full load. Those pull a surge that only the biggest 240-volt units can even attempt, and even then, only the top-tier models are actually rated for it. If someone tells you a compact power station will run your whole house through a storm, that's the same rip-off promise as the $15,000 installer quote wrapped in different packaging. Know exactly what you're protecting before you hand over your money. Number 12. Add up what you're actually spending on fuel every time you run a gas generator through a multi-day outage, because hardly anyone actually sits down and runs that math before they buy. A mid-size 5-kilowatt portable generator burns close to a gallon of gas every hour and a half at moderate load, which works out to somewhere around $40 a day in fuel alone. Run a whole home 22-kilowatt standby unit through a real outage, and you can burn through $200 a day in propane or natural gas, depending on load. One independent tester actually clocked a small gas generator running a light load at around $25 a day at current fuel prices, which lines up with those estimates. A power station charged ahead of the storm or topped off with a solar panel during the day costs you nothing in fuel once you already own it. It won't replace a generator for running your whole house through a week-long outage, and I'll give the gas generator its due here. Over 10 years of ownership, the cheap gas unit can still come out a little ahead on pure dollars spent once you count the upfront cost of both. People choose the battery anyway for the silence, the safety of running it indoors, and not having to store gasoline. That's a fair trade, as long as you're making it with your eyes open instead of being told it's free. Number 13. Before you sign anything with an installer, know what a full whole home standby generator actually costs installed, so you can spot the moment you're being oversold. Fully installed, with the transfer switch, the permits, and the concrete pad it sits on, a whole home system runs somewhere between $7,000 and $20,000 in 2026, and plenty of homeowners land closer to $12,000 or $14,000 for a standard 22 kilowatt unit outside on that pad. Industry-wide averages that include smaller installs still land around $4,500 once you add the permit, the pad, and the wiring. If everything you actually need covered is the fridge, the lights, the Wi-Fi, the sump pump, and maybe a medical device, you can wire a power station like the F3800 or the Delta Pro 3 through a proper transfer switch for closer to $2,000 to $4,000 total. That's a 5-figure difference for covering the exact circuits that actually matter to your family during a normal outage. If your home genuinely needs central air or heat running through a multi-day event, that's a real generator conversation, and I'm not going to pretend otherwise. But don't let anyone quote you whole home pricing to protect a fridge and a Wi-Fi router. Number 14, and I'll be straight with you on this one because I don't want you thinking it's some secret jackpot. If your utility charges different rates by time of day, you can schedule your power station to charge during the cheap off-peak hours and draw from stored power during the expensive peak hours. On a typical rate spread, say 12 cents a kilowatt hour off-peak against 35 cents on-peak, charging a 1 kilowatt hour unit off-peak instead of on-peak might save you somewhere around 20 to 25 cents per full charge. That adds up a little over hundreds of cycles, but let's not pretend it's the reason you bought the thing. Don't burn through your battery's limited cycle life chasing pennies. Treat scheduled charging as a small bonus if your app happens to support it, not as a justification for the purchase in the first place. Number 15, and I saved this one for last on purpose because it's the one that actually tests whether a brand deserves your trust. Track record matters more than any spec sheet, and this is where I'm going to name names, because you deserve the same information the guy fixing his own gear already has. In 2025, the Consumer Product Safety Commission recalled roughly 481,000 Anker battery packs after the company reported 33 fire and explosion incidents, including 4 minor burn injuries and 1 case of substantial property damage. That recall was on a different Anker product line, the smaller portable battery packs, not the Solix power stations this video has been recommending. But it wasn't the only one. A separate Anker battery pack recall the same year covered over 1 million more units after 19 reported fires and explosions and more than $60,000 in property damage. That's a brand this entire video has praised for its 5-year warranty and its solid build quality on the power station side. And I stand by that praise. But the honest verdict is that even a well-regarded brand can ship a defective batch somewhere in its lineup. That's the kind of number that should make anyone pause before assuming a name alone means safety. The difference between a company you can trust and one you can't was never whether something eventually goes wrong. Something eventually goes wrong with almost every product category on Earth. The real difference is whether they own it fast, whether the fix is real, and whether you actually did your part, registering the unit and running the updates. So you're covered the moment they announce a problem instead of finding out from a stranger online. Buy the right chemistry, buy the right size, buy it at the right price during the right week of the year. Register it, update it, and keep half an eye on the news for your specific brand and model, the same way you'd want to know about a recall on your car. Do all of that, and you're not gambling on backup power anymore. You're just running the numbers, the same way I always did before I ever signed off on a job. I've stood in a lot of basements looking at a power station somebody paid too much for, and just as many basements looking at one somebody got exactly right. The difference was never luck. It was whether they did their homework before they clicked buy. None of these 15 tricks require you to become an electrician. They just require you to slow down for 10 minutes before you spend real money. If I were setting up my own place today, I'd wait for one of those 4 sale windows, buy a lithium iron phosphate unit sized to my actual critical loads, register it the day it arrived, keep the firmware current, and store it at half charge whenever it wasn't in use, sitting in the garage. That's the entire trick. There isn't a 16th one hiding somewhere. If this saved you real money, or saved you from a mistake you were about to make, stick around. I cover backup power, generators, and solar every week. And next time, I'm breaking down exactly which whole home battery systems are actually worth the install cost, and which ones are the same markup dressed up in a nicer box.